Hello and welcome to Idea Television Midday News. I am Adewale Olashupo. First, we begin with the headlines. Kenya launches digital tools to boost AFCFTA trade deals. Ghana tightens mobile service quality rules. Hollywood legend Robert Duvall dies at 95. Health Ministry orders immediate retirement of long-serving directors. TOGO updates databases for 5 major crop value chains. Away from Africa, US-Iran resume nuclear talks in Geneva amid military build-up. In business, federal government to raise 800 billion naira in February bond auction amid high yields. In sports, Canada visa processing slows ahead of 2026 FIFA World Cup. Lastly, in sports, MBAPPÉ tops Champions League phase with 13 goals. Now the news in detail. Kenya has unveiled 2 digital platforms, Biashara Link and Deal House, aimed at strengthening economic diplomacy and accelerating intra-African trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area. The initiative was launched on the sidelines of the 39th African Union Summit as leaders push for practical solutions to turn trade agreements into real business transactions. The platforms developed by Real Sources Africa seek to transform more than 1,000 African diplomatic missions into active trade facilitators. Biashara Link will help embassies, exporters, and investors identify and structure opportunities aligned with AFCFTA priorities, while Deal House will provide follow-up support including validation of opportunities, partner matchmaking, financing access, and assistance through the contract signing. Officials say the initiative responds to a major execution gap, with African diplomatic missions receiving about 3,500 trade requests monthly, but converting fewer than 1% into formal agreements. The program will also focus on integrating small and medium-sized enterprises and women-led businesses into regional value chains to drive jobs and economic growth across the continent. Now to Ghana, the country's telecom regulator has introduced stricter quality of service standards for mobile operators, setting tough and legally binding performance targets for voice, data, and messaging services across the country. The revised rules issued by the National Communications Authority update standards that have been in place since 2004 and reflect evolving technology, growing data use, and national digital policy goals. Under the new framework, the maximum dropped call rate has been reduced below 1%, while at least 95% of calls must connect successfully in most operational cells nationwide. Data standards now require averaging 3G download speeds to exceed 1 megabit per second, and operators must ensure a minimum 98% success rate for SMS and MMS delivery within 5 seconds. The rules also make nationwide network coverage mandatory in every district under the telecom license conditions. The regulator says it will intensify monitoring and impose sanctions on operators that fail to comply. The move follows rising consumer complaints about poor network performance, though industry groups warn that strict penalties and ambitious targets could strain investment capacity and may be difficult to achieve in areas facing infrastructure and energy challenges. Now to Hollywood, veteran American actor Robert Duvall, celebrated for iconic roles in The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, has died at the age of 95. His wife, Luciana Duvall, confirmed that the Academy Award-winning actor passed away peacefully at home, surrounded by loved ones. In a heartfelt tribute, she described him as a cherished husband, friend, and one of the greatest actors of this generation. Duvall's career spanned more than 6 decades across film, television, and stage. He first gained recognition at the Bull Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird before earning global acclaim for his role as Tom Hagen in The Godfather and its sequel. He later won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his performance as Max Sledge in Tender Mercies, cementing his place among Hollywood's finest talent. Beyond these landmark roles, DUVALL's filmography included standoff performances in The Great Satani and Lonesome Dove. Trained at New York's Neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater alongside Dustin Hoffman and Gene Hackman, he built a legacy defined by dedication to craft and powerful storytelling, leaving an enduring mark on the film industry. Now to health. Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Health has directed the immediate disengagement of directors who have spent 8 years in the directorate's cadre in line with the revised public service rules. The directive affects officials across the ministry, federal hospitals and agencies following a memo issued from the Office of the Permanent Secretary. The order reinforces the federal government's earlier instructions to ministries, departments and agencies to strictly enforce the 8-year tenure policy for directors and permanent secretaries. A circular signed by the Teshoma De Fata instructed heads of agencies and parastatals to ensure affected officers hand over official documents immediately, while their salaries are halted and any post-tenure payments refunded to the Treasury. The policy stems from the revised public service rules approved by the Federal Executive Council and made operational in July 2023. Under the rules, directors must compulsorily retire after 8 years in the role, while permanent secretaries will serve a 4-year term renewable only based on satisfactory performance. Authorities say compliance will be closely monitored with sanctions for violations. Togo's Ministry of Agriculture has launched. In other news, Togo's Ministry of Agriculture has launched a nationwide initiative to update database for 5 key agricultural value chains: pineapple, mango, corn, soybean, and cassava. The effort, supported by the Private Sector Competitiveness Support Program (PROCOM), aims to improve the organization of the country's agricultural sector, strengthen food security, boost agro-industry, and create jobs, especially in agroecological and organic farming. A workshop in Lome last week reviewed memberships criteria for professional groups within each value chain. The initiative will collect data to better identify stakeholders, enhance coordination between public and private actors, and implement climate-smart improved management practices to raise yields and productivity. The database update will roll out in 3 phases: validating group membership criteria, training professional. Authorities hope this will strengthen internal organs, improve working conditions, and increase incomes for producers. This move reflects Togo's broader push to modernize agriculture and ensure farmers have access to local, regional, and international markets. We'll go on a quick break now. The news continues when we return. Welcome back. If you're just joining, this is Idea Television Midday News. Now the rest of the news. Away from Africa, a second round of indirect nuclear negotiations between the United States of America and Iran has begun in Geneva, Switzerland, with Oman mediating the discussions. The talk focused on Iran's nuclear program and the possibility of lifting of U.S. economic sanctions as tensions remain high following repeated military threats and ongoing disputes over Tehran's nuclear ambitions. U.S. President Donald Trump described the talks as very important, saying he believes Iran is motivated to reach an agreement. Iran's foreign ministry also signaled optimism, noting Washington's stance appeared to be moving towards a more realistic position. However, the United States has indicated it also wants broader discussions, including Iran's missile stockpile, which could complicate negotiations. The renewed diplomacy comes with heightened military activity in the Middle East. The U.S. has increased its presence with aircraft carriers, warships and fighter jets in the region, while Iran has launched maritime drills in the Strait of Hormuz. Officials on both sides acknowledge that reaching a deal will be difficult, but say diplomacy remains a critical opportunity to ease tensions. Now to business news. The federal government of Nigeria plans to raise 800 billion naira through its February 2026 bond auction, according to the Debt Management Office. The amount is more than double the 350 billion naira offered in the same period last year, but slightly lower than January's 900 billion naira auction. The offer includes 400 billion naira of 17.95% FGN June 2035 7-year reopening and 300 billion naira of 19.89% for the federal government of Nigeria between May 2023 10-year reopening and 100 billion of 19.0%. The auction is scheduled for February 23, 2026 with settlement on February 25. Analysts say the focus on 7-year and 10-year bonds aims to extend the maturity of domestic debt and reduce near-term financing pressure. Despite slight moderation in some rates, borrowing costs remain high, near 18 to 20%, reflecting tight liquidity and continued monetary policy restraints. And now to sports. Visa processing in Canada is reportedly slowing down months before the country hosts matches for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, raising concerns about possible travel disruptions. Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada says Canada is facing increased application volumes while operating with a reduced workforce, with reports indicating the agency has cut about 20% of its staff. Canada is set to host 13 matches during the tournament in June 2026, an event expected to attract millions of visitors, with global travel projected to exceed 20 million people across host cities. Stakeholders warn that prolonged wait time for visitor visas could affect tourists, temporary workers, media personnel and business travelers planning to attend a global football spectacle. The Canada Border Services Agency says it is working closely with the government partners, host cities and FIFA, as well as border authorities in the United States and Mexico to coordinate safety, security and the travel operations ahead of the tournament to manage the expected influx of travelers. Lastly, in sport news, French forward Kylian MBAPPÉ has finished the UEFA Champions League phase as the top scorer, netting 13 goals for Real Madrid. His tally puts him 5 goals ahead of the second place Harry Kane of Bayern Munich. Mbappe's goals have come from long-range strikes, tap-ins and opportunistic finishes, underlying his key role in Real Madrid's attacking play. His movement of the ball and composure in front of goal have made him constant threat to opponents. Other leading scorers in the league phase include Erling Haaland with 7 goals, Victor Osimhen, Anthony Gordon and Gabriel Martinelli, each with 6 goals. Mbappe's early success from early season form suggests he could set a new personal record before the Champions League knockout rounds begin. That is all we have for you on Idea Television Media News. But before we go, here is a recap of our headlines. Kenya launches digital tools to boost AFCFTA trade deal. Ghana tightens mobile service quality rules. Hollywood legends Robert Duvall dies at 95. Health Ministry orders immediate retirement of long-serving directors. And Togo updates database for 5 major crop value chains. Away from Africa, US, Iran resumed nuclear talks in Geneva amid military build-up. In business, federal government raised 800 billion naira in February bond auction amid high yields. And lastly, in sports, Canada visa processing slows ahead of 2026 FIFA World Cup. And MBAPPÉ tops Champions League phase with 13 goals. Do not forget to follow us across our social media platforms at Idea Television. I am Adewale Lashopo. Thank you for watching.